Chapter 83. Alden breathed a huge sigh of relief when conversation class was over. Lute had refused to talk about the weather and had insisted on playing Guess How I Lost My Eye. It was a game that was not improved by Alden's embarrassment over assuming the eye patch was a costume, nor by Lute's limited art tone and vocabulary. Do you think my eyes juice like wavy fruit? Do you think Grandma takes it and eats it? Something is wrong with all the vulras, Alden said as he took the stairs down to the ground floor. By the end of the period, Lute had been in hysterics, and Alden wasn't even sure the vulra boy had lost his eye. He'd lied about his own name after all. But he couldn't accuse him of having a twisted sense of humor, because what if he was wrong? Again. Was it the blowback from the gloss? Lute had been worried at Hannah's funeral that he was going to lose his fingers. Had he lost an eye instead? He was mad at his grandmother for sure. Even madder than before. And if the whole thing wasn't just some sick joke, then... yeah. Who could blame him? Aliyah lost a council seat, and Lute lost an eyeball. Alden had frantically tried to look up whether or not human healers could regrow eyes while Lute jogged around. They couldn't. They could fix injuries, but not serious destruction. So it was possible. You'd think the vulras could get an Ertonen to grow him a new one. Maybe they're not as well connected as people think? Or Aliyah's well connected, but she doesn't share those connections with every family member? Can't Lute get a bionic? Alden comforted himself with a peanut butter mousse cup Natalie had made while he took a walk around campus. Constantine had sent him his official invitation to a party on Friday. Alden was supposed to bring his favorite mocktail ingredients. He turned toward Chelena Circle. The high school's main green space wasn't crowded, but there were a few groups of friends enjoying lunch together on the lawn. Call Bo. He swallowed another mouthful of peanut butter before he made his decision about the day's conversation topic. So I've told you good things about Anzidora and bad things about Anzidora, but today let me tell you something that's just funny. They take mocktails really seriously. And they think that's normal. Like we have coffee shops where nobody bats an eye if you order something with 8 ingredients and a specific kind of foam. They are the same way about mocktails. Someone asked me what kind of cherries I wanted to garnish my glass the other day, and there were 3 different choices. It's hilarious. But I could get used to it. He scraped his spoon against the sides of his mousse container, and when it was insufficient to the job, he gave up and licked it. I really enjoyed sharing my magic food with Jeremy, he said. And you didn't get any. Because you're a terrible person who ran away from home, and you refused to answer your phone. I've left you more than 60 messages. Yes. I'm counting. I'm scared for you, jerk. If you're not careful, you're going to get downgraded from best friend to slightly less best friend. Be warned. In other news, I met another vulva today. This one was nuts, too, but he didn't use his powers to blow a word chain I was saving for myself. So I think that puts him at number 2 on my personal vulva ranking list. I hope you're safe. I'm going to. The insulated metal cup Natalie had packed the mousse and fell from his hand. It clanged as it bounced against the sidewalk, but the loud noise didn't even register. The words scrolling across the bottom of Alden's interface stole every last speck of his attention. Voice call connected. Say something. Keep him here. Bo, if that's you, please don't hang up. Alden. You're alive? Bo's voice was a whisper. Are you really? Are you okay? Alden was so excited, he shouted out loud. Am I okay? Bo, where have you been? Where are you now? I think that I'm. Bo sounded frazzled. He took several deep breaths. Are you all right? Alden demanded. Yeah, I'm fine, Bo said. You're alive. And? Do you have an apartment on Anzidora now? Is that right? Have you really not been getting my messages? No. I haven't. I was. Are you somewhere private? I'm standing in the middle of campus. You're in school? On Anzidora? Holy crap, he really hasn't gotten a single one. Yes. It's my lunch break. Who cares? Can you tell me where you are? Let's. Okay, And Zedora. Let's not talk while you're out in public. Go back to your apartment. Call me from there. Stay on the phone with me. Alden commanded. He was already sprinting toward the nearest bus stop. Don't hang up. You're really all right? Bo asked. He was still taking such deep breaths that Alden could hear them. Where were you? Did you get hurt? What hap? I'm fine. I'm completely and totally healthy and fine and good. I've been home for 2 months. Well, not home. But here on the island, and oh my god, the timer for this bus says it's going to be 15 minutes. I'm going to run to another stop. Don't hang up. How long will it be until you get to your place from wherever you are? An hour. Maybe a little more if traffic's bad. I can find another quiet spot to talk. Bo didn't say anything for a second, and it was only the call connected notice that kept Alden from panicking and thinking he was gone. Are you alright, Bo? Well, I'm a lot fucking better now that you're not gone, said Bo. I'm sorry, though. I do need to hang up on you. No. Why would you? I need to collect myself. Collect yourself while I listen. Alden didn't care how weird it sounded in the heat of the moment. No, Bo said. Sorry. I need the hour. It would be better if I had even longer than that, so don't break your neck trying to get to your apartment. I was so shocked when I saw your name. I answered before I'd even thought it through. Don't hang up on me. Please. Bo, just mute me or something. His friend laughed shakily. You made me think you were dead for half a year, you dick. I think you can give me 2 months and an hour. The call disconnected. Line of asterisks. Line of asterisks. Contract Park Middle School. Chicago, Illinois. 5 years ago. Line of asterisks. Line of asterisks. Middle school was going to be different for him. Aunt Connie had said so, but she didn't have a great track record on the advice front. Counselor Davis, call me Maggie, had said so, but she was part of the reason elementary school had ended on a sour note. Even Coach Randall had said so, but he had also said he couldn't let Alden play in many games because he sometimes showed up late for practices. When he didn't know Alden was listening, he had told the assistant coach that it was because the other kids' parents always came on game day. And it was a shame if they didn't get to see their children play. So baseball was out. And counselors who came into the school during the last half of 5th grade and then babied you were even more out. Everyone had only just started to forget that Alden was the one who got all the careful treatment in 3rd grade. They'd only just stopped being afraid of the weird, scary kid he sometimes was in 4th. But 5th grade had been going well. The teacher hadn't forced a single heartfelt talk on him, and she hadn't told anyone to be careful of what they said around him. Then Call Me Maggie had to arrive and be conspicuous about the fact that she considered him to be one of her special students. She was so proud of his good grades. Go Alden. Like she had anything to do with any of it. The old counselor had been helpful and professional. She's supposed to be a guidance counselor, not a therapist. But she just breezed in and acted like she knew all about me, and, no. He wasn't going to get mad about it again. He wasn't going to stew over it. Not any of it. He wasn't someone who did that anymore. Middle school was going to be different. Because he wanted it to be. And Hannah Elber had said she was confident in Alden's ability to make it different. His phone was full of pictures from his day trips to Zedora that summer. He had been invited to the island by a real superhero. That wasn't something many people could say. And she'd had him back a second time. She had even let him try on her motorcycle jacket. It didn't give him powers. But she was cool. 6th grade was his for the taking. He had a new sky blue backpack he'd picked out with Connie during a last-minute school supply shopping mission. And he hadn't spent a single night recently thinking about those pictures of Body Drainer's body. Never, ever think about those again, or staring at message boards and hating people like Wake Up Therese Bacon for bad-mouthing his parents. His tinnitus even kind of went with the music he was listening to on his headphones as he slipped into his new classroom and looked around for a good seat. I can make it different. I can make myself different. I can be better. He was going to start by making a friend in homeroom. He decided right away that the left side of the classroom wouldn't work. Terry Milliken was over there with one of his friends. Nothing was wrong with Terry, exactly, but Terry had come over to Alden's house once last year and then called his mom to pick him up early because there was a roach trap in the kitchen and a single beer in the back of the fridge. Terry thought. Alden wasn't sure what he thought. It wasn't like Alden was allowed to drink the beer. It was just sitting there in the fridge not bothering anybody. And the roach trap was there so that roaches wouldn't bother anyone either. The classroom wasn't full yet. There were a few girls on the other side of the room and a boy in the back corner. That's a really ugly scarf, Alden thought as he examined the lumpy woolen object and its owner. Maybe he had tried to knit it himself? Did people their age knit? Alden could be friends with a knitter. He took the desk next to him. He spent a long time pretending to organize the supplies in his backpack, hoping his new friend would introduce himself first because then it would be easier. When it didn't happen, he took a deep breath, and, fuck off, the boy said under his breath. Alden blinked. I don't want to talk to you, the boy said. I haven't even said anything yet. Alden protested. Keep it that way, dickhead. He whispered the word dickhead, too. It was like he wanted to swear like a grown-up, but he was embarrassed to be doing it at the same time. Change of plans, thought Alden. The knitter has issues. I need a different desk. He picked his backpack up again. Only to realize an unfortunate thing had happened while he was hoping that the other boy would start the conversation for him. Almost all of the seats in the room had been taken. The only ones left were over by Terry's group. Alden hovered over the desk indecisively. This wasn't going at all like he'd hoped. The scarf boy was hostile. He wasn't great at being hostile, but he was obviously trying hard to be mean and it wasn't normal. Terry Milliken though. He'd been polite when he said he had to call his mom and leave. But something about it had made Alden feel bad about himself, his aunt, and their house. The knitter swearing at me just makes me feel like the knitter has his own troubles. Not like he's judging me. That was preferable. He sat back down. Hi. I'm Alden. I don't care. What's your name? I said I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anyone. You asho, it's asshole, said Alden. Connie and her friends swore a lot. It wasn't something he usually did because it upset a lot of people when an 11-year-old swore, and he tried hard not to upset people. You're trying to call me an asshole. You asshole. He smiled. The other boy looked surprisingly horrified, considering he'd started this whole thing. He turned around in his seat and stared at the board. He seemed to be attempting to retract his head into the folds of his scarf to hide himself from Alden. Alden felt pretty sorry for him. Clearly whatever impression he'd been attempting to make had gone awry. Scarf Kid whipped back around and glared at him, nostrils flaring. I don't want you to pity me, he spat. I don't need you. Go sit with those other assholes you keep staring at. Now it was Alden's turn to be surprised. If he'd made that face and spoken in that voice when he was trying to run Alden off the first time, instead of whispering dickhead like he'd only just learned the word from a dictionary, Alden would have fled. So he does have a really scary setting? And a fake scary setting. He's strange. Isn't your scarf hot? It's summer. Don't make fun of me. I'm not. Did you knit it yourself? It's neat if you did. Go away. You go away. I have to sit in the corner seat. I ran here just to take it. Elementary school Alden had liked corner seats, too. Maybe middle school Alden, who was going to be different, should try the middle of the room. Surrounded by people. I like it here. I'm Alden. Wait. I already said that, didn't I? He set his backpack down. I won't bother you anymore. We can both sit here and not talk. That's fine with me. We changed classes in 6th grade anyway, so you can sit wherever you like for the others. The boy pressed his lips together and said nothing. When the teacher called roll, Alden found out his name was Bolapescu. They all stood up to say something about themselves, and Alden said he might like to be a superhero if he could one day. He had decided this summer. after visiting Hannah. A few people left. It turned out they were supposed to be too old for that this year. You couldn't just dream of being chosen by the system anymore. But everyone was saying stuff like that before summer break. 5th grade and 6th grade, miles apart after all. He suddenly felt like he'd missed out on something by having mixed feelings on the topic of superheroes in the years since the disaster. He wouldn't say it aloud in class again. When Bo stood up, he said his last name was Romanian, then he sat back down. 2 seconds and done. Someone laughed at him, too. Alden felt sorry for him again and tried to catch his eye. But Bo refused to look at him. It's all right, he thought. I'll make other friends. And that was how the school year began. By the end of the first week, Bo Lupescu had developed a real knack for alienating people. He didn't even use swear words to do it after his misfire with Alden. He ignored classmates when they tried to talk to him. He answered robotically when he had to. Then, if anyone dared to keep bothering him, his mouth started spraying acid. Their classmates began to avoid him. Then they talked to other people, who avoided him, too. Bo was rapidly becoming one of those kids everyone knew it was okay to hate. The weirdo with the bad temper. Nobody likes him, so it's fine not to be nice to him. It's normal to be mean to him. This was a problem. Alden had to start avoiding Bo, too, or he wouldn't be able to make friends. But why don't you just go hang out with them? Bo slammed the locker so hard it made Alden jump. He pointed down the hall to where some of their classmates were standing in a group laughing at videos on one of their phones. You want to, right? Go. You spoke to me. Alden exclaimed. Bo stared at him. Alden grinned. I haven't said anything to you. Like I prom? You asked me if I knitted again on Wednesday. And you didn't answer. I haven't said anything since then. Bo clenched his jaw. I don't mind being quiet if you just hate talking, Alden said. Why? Alden knew why, but he didn't know how to explain it. Bo was angry, but he wasn't a bully. He never sought people out to be mean to them. Like a human cactus, he only stabbed if you grabbed. But it seemed like he considered any form of interaction to be a grab, and other people didn't get it. If you don't let people talk to you, most of them take it really personally. Alden felt like he had to at least try to get the idea across. They don't understand why you're being that way. So they start to hate you. Good. You won't have any other friends. I don't want any friends. Alden glared at him. Well, I do. At least one. Bo raised an eyebrow and pointed down the hall again. Asshole. Asshole. He really is one, Alden thought, marching away to watch the video with the other boys. I bet he doesn't know how hard it is to fix how people see you when they've already got opinions about you in their heads. Line of asterisks. At the end of September, the 6th grade took a field trip to Brookfield Zoo. Alden sat next to Bo on the bus. It wasn't intentional. He wasn't mad at his homeroom neighbor, but he'd mostly given up on trying to speak to him weeks before. You don't wear your scarf anymore. People kept pulling on it. Sorry. Bo nodded once. That was the entire bus ride conversation. Maybe it's for the best. Alden wasn't in the mood for talking that day either. Everyone else was ecstatic to be out of the classroom. When they reached their destination, they broke into small groups and ran laughing from exhibit to exhibit. Alden trailed after them. By lunchtime, he wished he'd just stayed home pretending to be sick. If you hate the zoo so much, why'd you come? Startled, Alden looked up from the bagged lunch he'd been picking through. Bo was standing over him with an even more annoyed expression on his face than usual. How'd he find me? Alden had elected to sneak away from the group to eat his lunch behind a trash can, so that he could have a minute to himself. I don't hate the zoo. You've been miserable all morning. It's not like you. Go away. You go away. I was here for... Oh. Alden stared down at his slightly soggy turkey and cheese sandwich. He swallowed. I do like the zoo. Bo Lupescu sighed and stalked away. Great talking to you, asshole, thought Alden. I guess we'll do it again in a month. 5 minutes later, he heard footsteps that were more like foot stomps, and Bo appeared around the trash can again. He thrust a paper plate with a funnel cake on it under Alden's nose. It was covered in sugar and chocolate drizzles. Funnel cake. It was less a question and more a command. Alden would have been shocked if Bo had offered him a pencil stub. An entire fried dessert was. Is it poisoned? Yes. Alden took it. Bo sat down beside him. They ate it in silence. The cake was huge. By the time it was gone, Alden had greasy, sticky fingers. And he felt a lot better. My parents brought me here right after we moved to Chicago, he said. I think they wanted to make sure we did something fun together as soon as possible, so I wouldn't miss my old school or my friends. Bo was trying to wipe chocolate sauce off his glasses. He didn't answer. I have good memories of the trip. Happy, but it's not just that they're happy. They are really clear. I remember what I saw here and what my parents said about the different animals. And now they have to be all mixed up with this day. And everyone just wants to talk about poop and how Earth animals aren't as interesting as alien ones and how the anteater's nose looks like a penis. Another minute passed. Alden waited. He thought Bo would probably say nothing. Or maybe something mean. But it would be nice, wouldn't it? If he didn't. My favorite thing about the anteater is that it eats tens of thousands of ants every day, Bo said. Ants suck. And anteaters suck up ants. Alden smiled. I wanted to hear the guide talk more about them, Bo added. And I wanted to actually learn about dicks, but I couldn't because everyone else was so busy being stupid about the name. They were really cute. They were. The name is. It's hilarious. But people make dick jokes every single day in class. It's not like those are new. I've never seen a tiny antelope before, and they wouldn't let me enjoy it. We could sneak off and go back on our own, Alden said. The other boy looked down at the empty plate on top of his knees. Or not, Alden added hastily. We'd probably make the teachers mad if they realized. My aunt isn't going to mind if they tell her, but, you know, I'm sure your family cares more than. Bo stood up suddenly. Let's go. Really? We're still not friends. I can't have friends. It's just for today. Okay. You're not listening. I just want to see the animals without everyone else around. I get it. Can't we go to the Australia section by ourselves, too? They have wombats. You're not my friend. That's fine. Do you want to come over to my house this weekend? Line of asterisks. Line of asterisks. F City. Ansidora. Present day. Line of asterisks. Line of asterisks. Alden remembered how just a couple of months ago, after waking up in the forest, he had sent Bo and Jeremy text messages asking them to give him time to get back home to Earth and settled in before he called them. It had felt like a reasonable request at the time. But it wasn't. Being on this end of it is torture. What if I call him in an hour, and he doesn't answer? And apparently Bo was still paranoid about having calls overheard. Fair enough. There were people running around in the informant's wearables, and residences like the apartment were supposed to be safe from those. When the hour was up, Alden was still on a crowded train zipping through F City, and it was only the knowledge that he would be the worst kind of hypocrite that kept him from calling right that second. All the questions he'd had about where Bo was, and the fear that he'd been holding back by clinging to Jeremy's assurances that he had sounded fine on his last phone call, were welling to the surface. You seem nervous, dear, greater than a woman with graying hair said in Cantonese. Are you all right? Greater than. Alden realized he'd been swaying in place like some anxiety-stricken cobra. He tightened his grip on a handrail and tried to hold himself still. Just as the train reached the last stop, a text message popped up. What's your ETA? Alden felt so relieved he could have melted into a puddle. 10 minutes, he texted back. At most. Because he was going to run. I'm going through some of your messages now, Bo wrote. Sounds like I have to off Jeremy and some poser named Stuart to resecure my best friend position. Talk to you soon. It felt like it took forever to reach the dorms. Then it felt like it took forever for the elevator to reach the 9th floor. Then, finally, he was walking through the door of his apartment. He locked it and set the Do Not Disturb notice. "Hey, Victor," he said, carefully stepping over the cat as it weaved around his ankles. Bo finally answered. "We're going to call him. And we're not going to freak out or freak him out. Normal friend stuff." That was what he'd wanted from Jeremy when he got back home. "It's fine if we don't even talk about where he's been," Alden muttered to himself as he headed toward the sofa. "Just as long as he's okay and doesn't run away again." He took a deep breath. "System, call." "You're still the same as always," said a familiar voice, maybe the most familiar voice in Alden's life, from just behind him. "Aren't you? And? You're really alive." Alden turned slowly to see a skinny, pale boy with dark hair and an ugly bowl cut stepping out of his bedroom. He was wearing ripped jeans and a black t-shirt with a skull on it. His hair was wet, and he was gripping a towel in one hand. It was dragging on the faux wood floor. Bo. Chapter 84. Alden. I just knew you were gone forever, Bo said. "I handled it about as well as you'd expect, MMMPH. Alden was crushing him in a hug before he even realized it. He was solid. He was real. "You weren't here when I got back home," Alden shouted in his ear. "I thought you were dead, too. Didn't Jeremy tell you?" "Of course. And I believed him. Mostly. But so much had already gone wrong, and sometimes I thought. You know it's not the same as seeing you with my own eyes." "Asshole," Bo said in a muffled voice. "You don't get to play the victim when you died first. And instead of Jeremy telling me you were fine, I had the freaking system telling me you were space dust." Bo put an arm around him briefly, then pushed him off. Alden took a step back. "How on earth are you here, Bo? You just told the cat you weren't going to ask me questions about where you were all this time. You don't have to say if you don't want to answer. But how are you on Anzidora? How did you even get into my apartment? The door's not supposed to open for people unless I give it permission to." He examined his friend. "Ripped jeans. Drippy hair. And when you said you needed to collect yourself, did you mean you needed to shower and get dressed up in my clothes?" Bo's smile widened. "That's definitely what I meant." Alden laughed a little too wildly. "What the heck, man? No. I really was collecting my thoughts. Showering helped. Actually. Could you do me a favor?" "Anything," Alden said at once. "You sound so serious. I'm not going to ask you for your firstborn. Could you just do your word chain?" "What word chain?" "You mentioned in a couple of your messages that you've got peace of mind down pat." Bo shifted his eyes toward the damp streaks the towel was leaving on the floor. "That one." "Oh. Okay. You want me to do that right now?" "Yeah." "Just a second then." It took more than a second, but Alden composed himself and started the hand gestures. The gremlin stirred briefly and then ignored him. "My heart calls out to another in good faith," he said in Artonan. "Spare me a portion of your mind's ease in this hour when my own mind is troubled. Tomorrow, I will grant another an equal comfort of mind." A moment passed, and he felt the chain settle. The overwhelming joy he was feeling faded just a little. "You didn't even ask why," Bo noted. "It's only a word chain. I'll recite it all day if you want. But it dimmed your mood slightly in this case. I'm sure that's not how you usually want to use that one. Thanks for doing it. And for being so thrilled to see me in the first place that I had to ask you to." Alden considered that, a bit more calmly than he would have a minute before. He thought of a lot of questions to ask. All of them were things Bo had to know he was dying to have answers about. Finally, he said, "You want food? The magic food I don't deserve because I'm a terrible person?" "Yep. I can't say no to that." Alden stepped over to the fridge. "Scandinavian, Indian, or Chinese?" he asked, examining the containers. "So international. Natalie, did you hear any of my messages about her? She wants to cook for everyone, so she's trying to learn recipes from all over the place." "Indian food," said Bo, leaning against the counter on his elbows. "And now that you're not out in the middle of a crowd of superhumans, you can ask me where I've been and what I've been doing. and why I wanted you to do a word chain. Just because you promised the cat you wouldn't, it doesn't mean I'm going to hold you to that. You know, I had a reverse version of this conversation with Jeremy last week. Alden headed over to the microwave with a veggie curry dish, where I said he could ask me anything because he was my friend, and he said he didn't have to ask me anything because he was my friend. Ugh. Bo covered his face, and peered at Alden through his fingers. He said that? With his own mouth. Yes. Fine. He is an angel among men. Fuck. How do you compete with that? I can't. And I know you can't. Well, I'm a bastard. It's been established. Me too. But I'm a lesser bastard. So I'm only going to ask one slightly prying question instead of the million I want to. How's your hand? Bo uncovered his eyes. My hand. Alden pretended to punch a cabinet. He smiled at Bo. Your hand, he said. Oh. I mean the hand you put through a brick wall, Alden clarified. I know what hand you mean. The hand you put through a brick wall after trying to get the angel to beat you up. And saying something so horrible to him that he won't even repeat it. I was there. I know what I did. That hand. Alden took the curry out of the microwave and slid it across the counter toward him with a fork. Is it broken? Do you need a healer? Bo stared down at his fingers. Nope, he said finally. Not so much as a scratch. Well. Then the question had to be asked. He took a deep breath. Did you get selected while I was gone? It was before you left. There was a brief silence. Oh, don't do that, man, Bo groaned. Alden had been reaching for the soap. He paused. Don't wash curry sauce and train germs off my fingers? No. Please don't be sad I didn't tell you. Be offended. Or annoyed. Or even angry. I'm not sad. This is just my face. You're sad, said Bo. Sad as. It's the worst. I'm terrible at dealing with sadness. My own. Other people's. It ruins my self-control. I'm not sad, Alden said again. He absolutely was. But only about that one specific thing. It wasn't that important, and it was overshadowed by his relief that Bo was alive, his worry about what his friend was doing here, and quite a lot of happiness. Alden, I'm so sorry. There was an uncommon amount of sincerity in Bo's voice. Why? Alden forgot about his soapy hands and stared at him. You haven't done anything wrong except for being an enormous leak to Jeremy, and even he says you were amazing prior to the wall-punching incident. I didn't mean to make it into a bigger thing than it was by bringing it up like that. The wall-punching incident was a much bigger thing than he let on, Bo said. But that's between me and him. I'm sorry I didn't tell you I had powers. You told me right after it happened for you. Of course I did. It's fine. Everyone has secrets. I knew you didn't think we had them. I knew it wasn't right to keep it from you. I hated myself for it so much, especially after you. I didn't want it to be that way. I'm just a fucking coward. I almost told you 100 times. There were reasons I should have, but I didn't want to lose my friend. Alden snorted. Then, he realized Bo was serious. I'm not going to stop being your friend. How could he even think that? We've spent almost every single day together since we were 11. You could say harsh things to a dick, and we'd still be friends. What about a baby dick? No. Not then. I have to draw the line somewhere. They smiled at each other. Alden said, those last few days before everything went wrong. I didn't mean to be so wrapped up in myself. But I didn't slow down for a second. Selection and then the funeral and then my moon mission, right? Bo interrupted. Moon mission. You're going to need to explain that to me very slowly. Because the messages I've listened to so far were not clear at all. You just throw phrases like grasshopper demons and running until I'm bloody and broken into soliloquies about how much you love your private chef's guacamole. Like those things are equally important. And like I have the full story. Alden opened his mouth. Not right now, Bo said hastily. Let me get my dramatic reveals out of the way before something comes up or I chicken out. Like I said, I regretted it. So let me do it. First, I'm a U-type. U-type. Didn't see that one coming. Wait. That's not why you didn't tell me, is it? You should know I don't have anything against U's just because. I know. Well, good, Alden said. And you? That's cool. I was assuming brute because of averages and the wall punching. It's not cool. It's not? Uncomfortable is the kindest adjective I've ever applied to it, and that's just on good days. Imagine the system stuck this way and a mourner in a blender. And the thing that came out didn't work as well as either of those. So it keeps trying to patch the creature with random shit it finds in its pockets. Alden stared at him. Sway. And mourner? And random shit. Bo was biting his thumbnail and watching him nervously from beneath white bangs. Mourner. The emotional transference class. Oh. You weren't saying I looked sad a second ago. You were saying you knew I was. Bo nodded. Alden didn't know how he felt about that. Or I do, but it's not the way I think I should feel, so it's confusing. Eat your curry, he said, finally turning his attention back to his hand washing. He watched the suds flow down the drain. He heard the scrape of the fork in Bo's hand against the container. If anyone else had told Alden they were spying on his feelings, he would have been furious. And scared. Even though he put effort into not being one of those people who treated sways like lepers, he still had to consciously ignore that spike of anxiety when he was around them. Even Instructor Marion this morning in class. Alden really liked the teacher, but there was always a what-if factor you had to leap over before you could act natural around one. So why? You're not doing some Swainer thing to calm me down right now, are you? Bo grimaced. Don't just cram the class names together. Swainer sounds terrible, and I'm not really either one. I'm my own monster. He paused. I'm not doing anything to you. But this curry is doing something weird to me. I feel like it's cuddling me as I eat it. That can't be right. Alden dried his hands on a paper towel while Bo squinted suspiciously at a chunk of carrot. Where are his glasses? I don't think I care, Alden said. Bo looked up. Maybe it's just the word chin working overtime, but I don't think I care very much if you're reading my mind right now. His friend frowned. Alden shrugged. Well, I'm not reading your mind. I don't hear your thoughts, said Bo. But I am feeling what you're feeling, like your emotions are pressing down on top of my own. Then you know. I don't really care that you're doing it. That's crazy, right? Alden bent to pick up Victor before the cat could try, and fail, to jump up onto the counter with the food. You're going to care a lot later. Right now you're very relieved and happy to see me. Bo tilted his head. The positive emotion and the peace of mind are canceling out the anger you should be feeling. Maybe. You are slightly worried, though. If you want to leave, Alden stared down at the chunky orange feline in his arms. I'm not worried about you reading my mind, which I'm not doing. Or my emotions. The thing I'm worried about is, like, whiny little kid stuff. So let's just pretend I'm not worried at all. Very little kid stuff. Lying in bed with your wombat plushie and wondering if maybe your best friend doesn't think you're his best friend because he's been keeping a secret from you. Is that kind of fear not something you grow out of? Alden cleared his throat. Even if I don't care, you obviously shouldn't be reading my emotions without permission in the first place. Because it's rude. And immoral. So stop it. I can't right now. I was about to tell you. If you go away and come back in 7 or so hours, you can have complete emotional privacy. Just stop using your skill. Or whatever you call the talent you use to do it. I'm not using one. My default state is empathic sponge. I use a skill to block your emotions, not access them. And since I'm magically toasted present. Don't squeeze the cat that hard, you doofus. He'll bite you. Sorry. Alden set Victor back down. What do you mean empathic sponge is your default state? Pretty sure you know the definition of all those words. Alden narrowed his eyes at him. That doesn't make sense. The magic thing you do is your normal? And not doing the magic thing is you using your powers. Ta-da, said Bo, waving his hands and wiggling his fingers like a party magician. "I'm real special. In a useless kind of way." "What the? Are you a born psychic of some kind? Like Hazelvora?" It was literally the only thing Alden could think of that would fit. But on the other hand, it didn't fit at all. Psychic powers weren't part of the standard human makeup. He just assumed Hazel's uniqueness was because she'd been experimentally enhanced by some really unethical scientist. The Voras didn't seem like the type to go for purely organic kids. "I guess you could call it psychic? Makes me feel like I should have bangle bracelets and a crystal ball. But it's not natural. Or at least I wasn't born this way." The emotion reading came contemporaneously with my affixation. That is a specific and unusual way to put it. Bo's expression was sardonic. The system likes to keep uniques quiet. Our affixations are unusual. And we can get significant help with them if we don't broadcast why we got our powers in a different way from everyone else in the first place. I've rejected the additional help so far. I think that's uncommon, judging by how often the system nags me about it. But I'd rather not completely burn that bridge until I'm certain I'm not going to need to cross it one. Holy shit, Alden, your emotions are all over the place. What? I'm good, Alden said. He accidentally knocked over the soap dispenser and caught it just before it could fall. You're not. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Bo reached a hand up toward him. Something is seriously. Alden whipped around and opened a random cabinet. Oh my god. So clever. Turning my back to hide my face so that my empathic friend won't know how I feel. This was going to take some getting used to. He stared at all the bottles of multicolored coffee flavorings, trying not to think so hard about unusual affixations with unusual system involvement. Maybe you should eat some of the curry? Bo suggested in a strained voice. Alden laughed in spite of himself. Sorry. I don't mean to be a freak. That came out of nowhere, huh? Now I guess you know how much of a mess the new me can be. Are you alright? Don't worry about me right now. Is there a subject I should avoid? I will, but I'm not sure what I said. It wasn't you. Don't burn the bridge. I'm not sure what kind of significant help Earth is offering you, but maybe it's something you really will need one day. So don't burn it. Affixations are. They are super important. So additional help is good. Hey, I finally became a coffee drinker. I make lattes now. With this absurd magic bean machine. Do you want one? You're babbling, Alden. Just because Bo had something weird going on with his affixations. It's not something like mine was. His tone was too casual. And every U-type has something weird going on. Which you knew anyway. It's not a huge surprise. They are uniques for some reason. Bo let him change the subject at least. I'll take a decaf mocha. Didn't you tell me once that decaf was for people with untreated heart conditions? I don't need to be more alert right now. And you definitely don't. Point taken. Alden reached for the bottle of chocolate syrup. So, you really can't turn off the feelings barometer? I really can't. And you're really not leaving the apartment even though I told you so. Bo, it's my apartment. If I wanted to get away from you, I'd kick you out, not run away myself. Don't. I'll get arrested. Alden turned back to face him. Are you going to explain that? I can't tell you how I got my weird powers. But I can tell you what they are, Bo said instead of answering. He took another bite of the food. If you're interested. No. I'm not at all interested. Keep them to yourself. Okay. Alden set down the chocolate syrup with a bang. Tell me. Or I'll think of horrifying stuff on purpose and barf my feelings all over you. Bo blinked. Well, that's a threat I wasn't expecting. You wouldn't believe some of the trauma I've got in my head now. It's a weaponizable amount for sure. I don't know why Jeremy thinks you're the nice one. He just hasn't known me long enough yet. Do you want a rosette on your latte? I want to see you try to make one. I feel the emotions of everyone in my vicinity. Unless I use a skill to actively block them. What's the skill called? The system lets me name them myself. Alden accidentally shot chocolate syrup across the counter. What? Nobody else has them. They are custom. So why wouldn't I get to? That's so unfair. I can even change them. I just type in a new one. At first, I called the emotion blocking skill Moody Moon Barrier. I love it. So mystical. Bedlam Beldam has one called Kitty Moon Barrier. It was in her honor. Magnificent. Now I call it skill number 1. Alden glared at him. I was so happy that you had a dorky preschooler name for your superpower, and you go and change it to the blandest thing in the world. Sorry. Skill number 2? Really? We can't all be baggage rabbits. Skill number 2 is the really nasty one. It lets me magnify people's emotions or force my own onto them. Oh. Yeah, that's a little. So that's what you mean by comparing yourself to a sway. Mourners only take negative emotions away from people, right? That's right. They have enhanced control over their own emotions, too. But as far as others go, it's just absorbing the unwanted ones. And there are consequences. Bo trailed off. I think the system must mean for them to be assistants to mind healers. And maybe it hopes humans will use them like a less objectionable version of a sway. But in practice not many of them do that kind of work from what I can tell. You don't hear about them much, do you? I know they're incredibly rare, but I think they mostly sit around doing nothing and making themselves happy. You mean magically happy? Alden asked. It's a feature of their power set. Like a counterbalance to the bad. But why soak up the bad at all? Why not just ignore universal suffering, flip the happy switch on yourself, and bliss out for as long as you can before you overdo it and turn your mind into jelly? You think the mourners sit around all day high on their own skills? Bo shrugged. The system has been spitting out fewer and fewer of them over the years. If you pay attention to that kind of thing. So whatever it is the Artonans hoped human mourners would be good for, it must not be working out in practice. Do you have a happy switch? Bo raised both eyebrows. Do you think I have a happy switch? A sarcastic and abrasive switch maybe. You've never struck me as someone who could choose to be pricky. Bo looked down at the rosette on top of his latte. I don't have a happy switch, he said after a long pause. But I can. There are ways to misuse my power that they make me feel good. Let's not talk about that. Especially while I'm missing my Moody Moon Barrier. Got it? Then, Alden smiled. And did you call it that just to amuse me? I guess when people come back from the dead, I'm a pushover. It's revolting. Skill number 3, damn. How many different powers do you have? Last one. Other than foundational enhancements. I actually gave skill number 3 a new name. I typed it in during that heinous memorial service they had for you at school. That was right before he ran away. It's called I Need a Break from People, said Bo. That's what you wrote on the note you left on Jeremy's bed after the memorial. When you dropped off the cat and vanished. Yeah. It's. Bo was still gazing into his coffee. You can skip it if you don't want to talk about it. I don't need to know. No. It's not that. This one isn't based on violating other people's emotions. So that's good. But it's just that I've never described it before. I don't actually know what it does, so it's hard. My new principal is a unique. She can phase through solid objects. Bo blinked. Goston? That's her. Leslie Sley is your principal. You did get into superhero school. After only being home for a few weeks? You've been. Wow, you've been really busy. You need to finish listening to my messages. They are not all guacamole. There were 60 of them. Give me time. My third skill is not as cool as Guston's power. It's like an escape hatch. It gives you a break from people? Bo nodded. Hence the name. It's one of those things I mentioned, something the system found in its pocket and tried to patch me up with. That's my best guess for its intentions anyway. When I trigger the skill, I go somewhere. For a while. Where? Alden asked. I don't know, Bo said slowly. I'm disembodied. But I can still think. I'm me, but without the complexity of my physical form weighing on me. It gives me some clarity. I know that sounds like mumbo-jumbo. It sounds like a cross-dimensional teleport, said Alden. What? Does it? It does. I'm a fan of them, I think. If you say so. They are really centering. We for sure need to talk about you after I'm done with my turn and my powers are back online. Bo sipped his drink. Wherever it is I go when I activate that skill, it's only me there. And I just have an echo of my emotions. My own emotions. Being there completely dumps all of the feelings from other people that get tangled up with me. So. Alright. Yeah. It's really centering. See. I know things. Uh-huh. To take the escape hatch, I have to do something the system calls attaching my existence to another being. Alden drummed his fingers on the counter. Fine. I do not know things anymore. What does that mean? It means I have to target a person or sufficiently intelligent animal before I activate the skill. They are either carrying me around somehow, or their emotions are acting as a beacon that lights the way back to real life? I'm not sure. That's... Bo grinned. You're confused. It's a very unique talent? Well, you know what the U in U-type stands for. But what are you supposed to do with that set of powers? Bo set down his mug. You're just assuming I'm supposed to do something with them at all. That they have a purpose. At the risk of lighting a spark under that bridge I just talked about, don't. The system could flash a warning sign in front of my eyes if it wanted to, right? I think it's fine to say this much. I don't believe my talents are intended to be useful to me, Earth, or the true planets. I don't think the Artonans want me to be Bo the Dark Empath who occasionally takes a time out in his own personal other realm. I think I'm... Oh, there's the flashing sign. So you're awake. Hi there, Shithhead. Give me a list of things I can say, then. Did he just call the system Shithhead and demand a list of talking points? That wasn't a shock, considering it was Bo. What surprised Alden was the fact that his friend didn't really sound annoyed at all. That was chummy cussing, wasn't it? Bo's eyes flicked up and down. Random. Are you talking to me or to it? I'm only allowed to tell you, I think I'm random, Bo clarified. Any more and the mighty magical overseer will be wroth with me. At least it answers you. It'll answer anyone if it thinks the answer is likely to save it trouble down the line, Bo said dismissively. Have my messages been going to you through your cell phone? Or the system? Both, I assume. Unless the autopay for the phone plan had a hiccup. I just couldn't access it while I was gone. Bo looked at him. You're still not upset about me knowing what you're feeling? I'm not. Not that I'm not. Relieved. And pretty damn touched. But I think that's definitely not going to last. My feelings aren't particularly embarrassing right now, are they? You only have to experience everybody else's emotions for a few days before you realize that almost nothing we inadvertently feel should be embarrassing, said Bo. Alden felt his left eyebrow shoot up. Are you sure you're Bo and not his kindly doppelganger? Don't misunderstand. People are horrible. They're so awful. I hate most of them most of the time. But not because of what they feel. It's because of what they do with those feelings. Two completely different things. About doing horrible things. What you're getting around to telling me is that you used skill number 3 to attach yourself to my cat, right? I needed a break from people, said Bo. It gets hard for me when I'm soaking in everyone else's madness on top of my own. Eventually, I can't disentangle anymore. It starts to feel like I'm being overwritten. And after the memorial. Why are you heading over to the sofa to bother that poor animal again? Alden crouched over Victor. Are you the reason he's fat now? Was he tired from carrying you around, and it ruined his metabolism? That's definitely how magic works. Victor, do you want me to beat up Bo for you? Alden asked, trying to find evidence of magical interference with his pet. Did the evil Mornay ask your permission before he used you as some kind of wellness retreat? Mornay is not happening. That's even worse than Swainer. You make me sound like a French sauce. We can't use Dark Empath who occasionally takes a time out inside Alden's formerly fit cat, or whatever it was. It's just too long. You seriously want to workshop a name for my bonkers unique class? Of course. Alden smiled at him. That's what friends should do when you get uncomfortable random powers. Bo slid off the counter stool and came to stand beside him. He looked down at the cat. After a long while, he said, Alden, you were dead. I'm sorry. I know it was probably worse for you than for me. It was bad. I thought about it sometimes. How terrible it would be for you. And Connie and Jeremy, too. I almost couldn't take it, Bo said quietly. Where were you? Monthagund broke. It was full of chaos and tiny demons. There was no way back home. I'm sorry it took me so long. Bo sighed. Me too. I didn't mean to be gone for months. Time doesn't move the same for me when I'm hiding in that place. I have a sense of it passing, but it's not accurate. I stay until I feel like I won't fly apart. It feels like hours. But usually it's a few weeks. That sounds dangerous, Alden said. Losing track of real time like that. I don't know if it is or not. I was scared of the same thing, that years would go by without me knowing. And I haven't really had practice with the skill. So when I used it right after your memorial, I came back too soon. I wasn't all right yet. That was when I flipped out at Jeremy's. Alden looked at him. It must have been agony, he said hesitantly. Having everyone else's grief piled on top of your own sounds. Bo didn't answer right away. Finally, he nudged Alden with an elbow. You should feel guiltier. Give me some good guilt. I said I was sorry, not for going missing. For making me an illegal immigrant. I was expecting to reappear in Jeremy's suburban mansion. There was a reason I attached myself to your cat. Instead I popped up butt naked in a strange apartment. I thought he'd given away Victor. I thought some homeowner was going to bust in and shoot me. Alden gaped at him. Your clothes don't go with you? My glasses don't even go with me. They are buried in a plastic bag under a bush below Jeremy's bedroom window. You're just a friend-shaped blur right now. Alden laughed. Jerk. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be so funny. I was panicking. I was running around the room, trying to figure out where I was and get clothes on myself so I could escape, and then I see the ocean out the window and the sketches of Apex and F-City on the wall. And I think, this place looks like pictures I've seen of the intake dorms on Anzidora. And I'm confused and very concerned because the only thing worse than breaking and entering in some trigger-happy person's house is breaking and entering on an island full of people with superpowers. Alden laughed harder. And then I see a call notice flashing on my interface, and I click it without checking, expecting it to be Jeremy because the only other person in the world who gives a shit about me is dead, and maybe Jeremy can tell me what the hell is going on. But then, it's you. Leaving a voicemail. About how you were making a personal list of which floors you hate the least. I sincerely thought I'd lost my grip on reality. Bo. I thought I should have done it ages ago, if all it took to hear from my best friend again was losing my mind. Alden tried to control his emotions. He couldn't. He took a few steps back from Bo, who was staring at him with an expression so raw that Alden didn't know what to do with it. Sorry. Shit, Alden said apologetically. I know you need me to be less. But I can't just be chill after you say something like that. Fair enough, Bo said, still staring at him. That was my bad. Peace of mind isn't a super strong word chain, man. It can't take this much of a beating. I'm the one who completely exhausted my barrier skill before taking my time out. I know it doesn't recover much when I'm away. So that's my bad, too. Am I? My feelings are intense and all over the place again. That's tough on you, right? It bothers you. Should I go? You should probably go. Bo smiled wryly. Unless you want me to go. And try to explain to the super police how I got to Point Nemo all by myself. I'm supposed to be meeting my personal trainer at the gym this afternoon. Alden backed toward the door. I'll do that. I'll come back tonight. You said a few hours. Some? I forgot the number. 6 or 7 should do. You have a trainer? I have a trainer. And I'm in hero school. Today was my first day. And I've got a commendation from a really important Artonan. And I have $12 million. Bo opened his mouth at that, but he didn't say anything. Yeah. There's a lot, said Alden. We'll cover it when you're not being forced to ride my every emotional nuance with me. I'm going now. Help yourself to my food. And clothes. And whatever. I have an expensive laptop. Enjoy. Call Jeremy. Don't feed the cat. He's a liar. Alden's hand was hovering over the door panel, but he didn't touch it. Bo. You're not going to disappear again, are you? You'll be here when I get back? I'm glad you asked first. I didn't want to be the one to sound all needy. Bo sat on the sofa, threw his legs up onto the low coffee table, and crossed his arms over his chest. I'll be here. No disappearances. You're coming back, aren't you? Yep. Just going to the gym. No trips to other worlds for months. I promise. Good. Good. And send me your glasses prescription. I'll have some new ones drone delivered. Showing off your new money swag? Do you enjoy squinting at everything? A text message with the prescription appeared on his interface. Bo hadn't even twitched. I can mental text as well, said Alden. You're not that impressive. Takes a ton of practice, doesn't it? I figured it out really fast and all by myself. I'm amazing like that. Your emotions shift when you lie. Shitty B rank. Alden suddenly realized. What is your rank? A, that's only one above me. But it is above you. I have 20/10 vision, Alden said. So we're even. Bo sighed. Alden, go away for 6 hours until my skills recovered. I really will be here when you get back. Ah. Sorry. I was stalling a little. Bye. Bye, said Bo. Then, just before the door shut, he added quietly, love you, too. Tope continued, thanks for listening.